So we saw a pretty strong lift on the 16th, about a 710% spike in Lioness merchandise, and that was really driven right after that win against Australia. And for context, we had seen a bit of an increase, about I would say in the range of 338% when we started the tournament right in late July. And so when we got to the semi-final, we saw another spike. And that was comparable to the semi-final we saw this time last year. So that's really, I think, promising to see the enthusiasm. We're able to see this because of Adobe Analytics and our line of sight across 1 trillion visits and billions of transactions. So that momentum really held through, and then it started to subside as we got closer to the final and transactions started to move more in store.
How does the growth in merchandise sales compare to the men's sport? Not absolute levels, of course. Absolute levels, men is going to be so much higher. But just in terms of growth, is women's sport growing faster than men's sport?
It is, and it's really because of what you mentioned in terms of the base levels and the scale. The volume is pretty large on the men's side through decades of promotion and endorsements. So now the women's merchandise and these, especially for the tournament for the World Cup, we saw a lot of acceleration driven as the enthusiasm built, and there was a lot of support for the team. So that really came through and showcased what the impact levels end up being when you look at the World Cup and then where the women's team is at right now.
Vivek, the U.S. had been so dominant for so many years in women's football, but competition within the tournament has gotten so much better in recent years, and this World Cup obviously being the showcase of that increased competition. How does that influence marketing spend and merchandising, the fact that the competition itself has become so much stronger?
It's a great question because from our perspective, we do see heavy investment both across marketing campaigns and in terms of the leagues themselves. They're putting forward promotions to try to make the moment count, because when you have demand surging as we've seen it, you really don't want to leave any of that demand on the table. You want to make sure that you're there to capitalize on the interest and make sure that you can ensure that when these different levels of scaling happens, when teams win matches, when they get into different types of tournaments, that you can ensure and be certain that the sales merchandise will be there for new fans, and it can really kind of help drive demand at a time where, from the macro picture, sometimes demand is a little slow. And so really we see these zeitgeist moments really drive up enthusiasm, and that's what we end up seeing in terms of investment from campaigns.